I used to have a tug of war dealing with the Old and New Testament. I used to have to try to reconcile the different doctrine to try to make the Old Testament fit into harmony with the New Testament. I mean, the Old Testament says an eye for an eye, while the New Testament decides to turn the other cheek. To me, these were polar opposites. So I'm thinking, what happened? I mean, it was never lost on me that the enemy was teaching false doctrine that made its way into the Christian belief system to further muddy the waters. But I mean, the doctrine itself seemed to contradict itself. That's what I'm talking about. Well, tonight, I want to show you what I've come to realize through study and revelation. More revelation than study, I would say. I looked at the books separately, then as a whole, and finally realized what I was missing. Before I begin, I need you to keep two things in mind. Time and culture. It's very important to keep these two things in mind as we begin this journey. Okay. Starting in the Old Testament, we witness a relationship that the Most High has with man. In this instance, Adam, that is very personable. There was no dark language, no prophets, just Adam and the Most High. No 10 Commandments, no sin, and only one rule. Do not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Time and culture. What time is it? Obviously, it's the very beginning. And what is the culture? Dominion and freedom, with the request to be fruitful and multiply. Why didn't the Most High give Adam laws and statutes? Why didn't the Most High stress to Adam to only worship him and no other gods? Time and culture. This was in the beginning. So false gods weren't even in the culture yet. We speak of changes from the Old to the New Testament, but don't realize there are very stark changes in the Old Testament on its own. Time and culture. Very important. Even punishment changes throughout the Bible due to time and culture. When the first murder was committed, what was the punishment? Cain was punished with exile and being a wanderer. But for murder, he even received a mark so he wouldn't be killed. Because at this time, the commandment for murder doesn't exist. Sexual laws didn't exist. So a brother marrying a sister was not yet an abomination. You see, we try and put our time and culture in the Bible at a time when a lot of what we know as right and wrong didn't exist. Okay. So the rules in the garden are going to change once sin is let into the world. There becomes a consequence for sin, a penalty. And we'll notice as time and culture changes, so does the consequences and penalties. Once we understand this, the New Testament comes into complete harmony for the most part. I say that because I'm strictly focused on laws, penalties, and salvation. I'm not talking about Paul or even the Gospels right now. So let's switch times and culture ahead and see what happens. In Genesis chapter 9, we see the Most High giving laws and statutes to Noah after the flood and reset. And in particular, we see the first official law for murder. If you shed someone's blood, someone will shed yours. But we still don't have the 10 Commandments. But we do get a covenant with Noah and the creatures to not flood the earth in that manner ever again. So we got a covenant. Time and culture. Oh, one point I'd like to make that's subtle but very important. Still sticking with the theme of time and culture, please notice during this time, what time? Abraham, Noah. During this time, man may have worshipped false gods, but there was no movement that said there is no God. Now, why do I say time and culture play a role in this? Because throughout the Bible, the Most High's relationship with man changes. When the Most High is present, as he was in the garden, the enemy knew he couldn't convince Adam and Eve that God didn't exist. So he focused on disobedience. As the Most High moved away from his physical or hands-on method with man, the enemy ushered in false gods, but not yet pushing the idea of no God, because you still had prophets and people who remembered through oral histories the workings of the Most High. And this is going to be important when we move into the culture and time of our day, so just bear that in mind. Now let's skip forward to our enslavement in Egypt. That would be the time. But what is the culture? And what, if any, relationship to the Most High do they have? We know going in, there were 70 individuals who all had a personal relationship with the Most High, but due to disobedience, were eventually enslaved by the Egyptians. Their numbers grew rapidly, and after about 400 years, there were at least 600,000 men alone. The fact that they were allowed to be enslaved should tell us of their disobedience or their relationship to the Most High. And we know Israel has always chased after false gods. To the extent that we see in Exodus 32 and 35, the Hebrews worshiping a golden calf. Which is in actuality the Egyptian goddess Hathor, in the form of the sacred cow. When the Most High turns his face away from Israel, they suffer all sorts of calamity, but also they become spiritually dead, like now. But the point I'm still driving at is how and why things change so drastically from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Sticking with time and culture, how did Israel pay for sins in the Old Testament? Well, we know during the Old Testament, the Most High sent angels to instruct the patriarchs on the procedure for sin. Meaning the Most High was dealing with man on a more personal level. The time was Abraham and Genesis, and the culture was herding. As we move forward to Exodus, in the time of Moses, the Most High gives the children of his a sacrificial system for dealing with sin. The time is, of course, Moses and Exodus, or Leviticus to be precise. And the culture was still hurting. It's important to understand that, what the sacrifices meant, how important they would be to a herder. So the theme throughout the Old Testament is the Most High giving instructions directly or through his prophets. There's no need for faith in his existence. And sin is judged more harshly because the instructions are right in your face. The Most High's presence is right in your face. But change is coming. And with that change, you're going to see a change in doctrine. Israel entered into a covenant with the Most High, which is going to be a major culture shift. You see, Father Abraham became the first Hebrew, the first chosen of the Most High, which made him holy or set apart. This covenant we entered through Moses did the same to us as a people. We became holy and set apart. Meaning we'd have to change our ways from our time in Egypt. And we were given the 10 Commandments. If you notice, the first 3 deal with our relationship to the Most High. And the other 7 deals with Israel's relationship with Israel, not the strangers, Israel, set apart. Now, obviously, with this covenant comes an agreement. And that agreement was that if we followed the laws, we'd be one of the greatest people on earth. And if we didn't, we'd be the opposite. As you well know by now, we didn't. And thus, the result is we fall under the curses and disobedience on the chart. If you study it, you'll easily be able to figure out who those curses represent. We're definitely cursed in the city. We're never a lender, and on and on and on. But one that's missing, probably on purpose, is the one that says we'd be scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. In strange lands, dealing with strangers who will show no mercy. That the Most High would turn his back on us, like our times in Egypt. In 70 AD, that happened. And we've been fugitives ever since. Scattered all over the face of the earth. Homeless, so to speak. The only people on the entire planet who cannot tell you our place of origin. And this is what brings us to the New Testament. Of course, the Most High knew 70 AD was coming, and knew we would be vagabonds. But since the Most High made a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he never planned to totally disown his people. Thus, he made proper arrangements so Israel could stay in compliance with sins and penalties. This is very important. The Most High knew the days of burning unblemished lamb would be coming to an end. The Most High knew our access to turtle doves would be hindered greatly. He knew getting the kidney of a goat would seem odd in today's culture. So he set up a one-time offering that would suffice as long as we accepted it. You see, Adam corrupted the system by being imperfect. And Yeshua fixed it. His blood, innocent blood, was spilled for a one-time sin offering to spiritually prepare Israel for their coming tragedies. The Most High knew burnt offerings and altars would be a thing of the past. So he sent his son. As a sacrificial lamb. And he had to be perfect. The blood had to be innocent. And also had to come from a being born of a woman to have any effect in this physical realm. Because although the Most High can do anything he wants to, he has a set of what we would call laws that he abides by. So basically, the Most High offered us remedy. My legal heads would know what that means. And also the free will to accept it or ignore it. It's really like perfect poetry when understood properly. See, the Most High knew the enemy would have free reign and do everything in his power to corrupt us, because the Most High turned his back. The enemy is going to use his science, music, entertainment, religion, all designed to ensnare us. But here's the kicker. Remember when I said he ushered in false gods because he knew he couldn't convince us that God didn't exist? Well, since 70 AD, he's been putting in place different events and people to set this up. To finally be able to convince you that the Most High is a fable. Couldn't work in the Old Testament. And by the way, this model you're looking at is totally made up. They have no fossil record that creates this picture. None. Zero. And for those who still wanted to have a God, he created false religion. And it wasn't very difficult when you consider time and culture. By the time the Christianity you see today was created, you had been a nomad for over 200 years with no real communication with the Most High. You understand that? 200 years. You know how many generations that is? How easily things are forgotten, misstated, exaggerated. His face was turned against us, so there was no communication. You were ripe for someone to steal and redo your spiritual system and then force it back on you with their God in the place of your Creator. New holy days called holidays. A brand new Sabbath. It's nothing but Babylonian sun worship, rebranded and modernized for today's hip Chaldeans. Look, I know people do not like to be fooled. They will fight, lie, and deny to try and prove their point. It's nothing but foolish pride. But you can stay stuck on your worldly knowledge and sophisticated sciences that make absolutely no sense and continue to walk in lies. That's your business. But me and mine, we're trying to find that straight gate and narrow way. You dig? Peace.